Today, I'm going to be filling out my World Cup 2022 bracket. Starting with the group stage, I'll be filling out what teams I think will be moving on and what teams will be getting through. Let's start off with Group A. First team in Group A, we've got Qatar. Now this is Qatar's first ever World Cup in their history, and they've controversially qualified for the World Cup by being the host nation. But Qatar aren't a bad team. In 2019, Qatar won the AFC Asian Cup, which is basically their equivalent of the Euros. That being said though, I don't think it'll be enough to get out of the group stage, so I'm gonna have to leave Qatar here at third. Next up, we've got Ecuador. Ecuador is the second youngest team competing in the tournament, and they don't have too many bad veteran players as well. However, there was a little bit of drama at the beginning of the qualifications for the World Cup. Byron Castillo. This drama kind of came from his eligibility and if he was actually able to play for the Ecuador national team. And despite some appeals from other national teams, he was able to play and they qualified for the World Cup. I don't see Ecuador making it out of the group stage, so I've got to go ahead and move him down to fourth. Next up, we've got the reigning champs of the AFCON, Senegal. Considering I've already sorted out third place and fourth place, Senegal's either got to be 1 or 2, and I think they're going to be 2. There's a lot of injury question marks with Mendy from Chelsea as well as Koulibaly from Chelsea. I don't think they'll have enough to get them through to first in the group stage. So Senegal, I've got you at second place in the group stage. And that leaves Netherlands. I've got Netherlands in first place because they've got a lot of really solid players this year and they're pretty seasoned as well. I think Netherlands just overall have a really solid team and I think they could go pretty far. So I've got them at number 1 in the group stage. Moving on to Group B. Now, England will have likely the most valuable team at the tournament, around 1.3 billion euros. But given their form this year, I just don't think they'll be as big of a powerhouse as they should be. I still think Gareth Southgate has yet to put all of the pieces together. As for the group stage, I've got them finishing first. I think they'll just simply outclass the other teams just from experience and the level of play. Next up, we've got Iran. And now on the contrary of England, they're the least valuable team in the entire tournament, coming in at around 73 million euros. Looking back at their past form this year, they've had a few strong friendlies and their form is relatively decent. And I think they're a little bit of a wild card as well in terms of how well they can compete in this group in particular, but I don't think it'll be enough to get out of the group stage. So Iran, I've got you in third. Next up, we got the USA. As everyone talks about, this is our first World Cup since 2014.
America, sorry you're not in the tournament.
Similar to England, I think Berhalter has some really great pieces he could play with. The friendlies leading up to the World Cup honestly kind of killed a ton of hope and excitement I had. I don't know. It'll be hard, but I think they can secure second place. And then that leaves Wales in fourth. Now, this is the first time since 1958 that Wales has qualified for the World Cup, 1958 being their only other appearance ever in the tournament. I think the biggest question mark for Wales is which Bale will they get for the tournament? Will they get the Bale that helped them qualify for the tournament, or will they get the Bale in his current MLS season form, which isn't that great? So considering how inconsistent I think Bale is at the moment, I've got Wales in fourth, and I just don't think the rest of the team is that strong enough, honestly. Next up, we got Group C. First team we'll be talking about is Argentina. Almost everybody expects them to be making a deep run, and ideally they'll finish atop of the group, which is exactly where I have them. I think this is one of the strongest teams that Argentina has been able to produce in recent years, and their chemistry is honestly like no other team in this tournament. Next team we're talking about, we got Saudi Arabia. With all due respect, I don't think Saudi Arabia will be doing a whole lot this World Cup. The teams in their group are just, I think, too much for them, so I've got them at fourth. The next team, we got Mexico. From what I can tell, I don't think they're expecting a whole lot with this tournament. I think a lot of them kind of see it as a passing of the torch from the younger to the old. Take it for what you will. I've got Mexico in third for the group stage. And that leaves Poland. Lewandowski's in form, and when he's in form, I'm convinced he could pretty much bring almost any of the teams in this World Cup to the knockout stage. I think a second place finish for Poland in this group is very possible. Next up, we've got Group D. Starting with France, I've got them winning the group, obviously. They're the reigning World Cup champs, but there is a few things to note. The first being they've only won 3 out of their 8 games this calendar year. A bit worrying. And then what's even more worrying is they're absolutely riddled with injuries. But despite all that, I've still got them finishing first in what I would say is a relatively weak group. Next up, we've got Australia. Barely qualified for the World Cup. They had to qualify through the playoffs. There's a little bit of drama regarding their roster and players that weren't selected, so I just can't see them making it out of the group stage. I'm not going to be too harsh. I can see them getting a third place finish in this group. Next up, we've got Denmark. Denmark's biggest piece, I think, is obviously Eriksson. I would love to see them make a run at the World Cup, and I definitely think they'll make it out of the group stage. I've got Denmark at second in this group. And then that leaves Tunisia. Despite beating Japan in June, I just can't see them leaving the group stage. So unfortunately, I've got them at fourth. Next up, we've got Group E. First team from Group E is Spain. I think they have a really good chance this year, if I'm being totally honest, in terms of actually winning the entire World Cup. I think they have a really good balance of youth and veterans. I think they'll make a good run, and I've got them finishing first in this group. Next up, we've got Costa Rica. Similar to Australia, they also qualified through the playoffs, but the difference, I think Costa Rica's got a very good defense. However, their offense is nowhere to be found pretty much. Costa Rica, I've got you in fourth in this group. Next up, we've got Germany. They've played a lot of really good opponents this year, England, Netherlands, Italy, but unfortunately, they tied every single one of those games except for the second match with Italy. I still don't think they've reloaded from the 2014 World Cup run. With all that being said though, I've got Germany finishing second in the group. And that leaves Japan. I think Japan's going to be a little bit of a wild card as well. Granted, they beat the US. However, there are a lot of injury concerns like a lot of these teams in this World Cup. I didn't really want to give them second place. I didn't really want to give them last place. So I put them at third for now in the group. Next up, we've got Group F. First team from Group F, we've got Belgium. Now, what everyone's been saying since the Euros is that Belgium's golden age has ended and that their chance of winning a major trophy is over. But that hasn't stopped me from putting them number one in this group. I think they still have some really good talent, Courtois in particular, De Bruyne. How far are they going in the tournament? I'm not so sure. We'll get there. Next up, we've got Canada. And despite finishing first in the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying, I don't see them getting out of the group stage. Unfortunately, they've had a few injury concerns, but fortunately, Davies will be making the World Cup. Supposedly, but coming off a hamstring injury, you know, those types of injuries are really tricky. So I've got Canada at third. Next up, we've got Morocco, and honestly, I don't think they have very high hopes for this tournament, in particular for one of their star players, Ziyech. He's been very out of form this year at Chelsea. Out of form players before the World Cup, not the best. So I got Morocco at fourth. And that leaves Croatia at second. I do favor them to get out of the group stage at second, but I just can't see them making a very deep run. Next up is Group G. First team in Group G, we've got Brazil. They've got absurd depth. Their entire bench could play the World Cup and they would still win. It's crazy how much depth they had. Maybe not their defense, but offensively, they're ridiculous. With all that being said, I've got Brazil finishing first in this group. Next up, we've got Serbia. Now, if they weren't so banged up on the offensive front, I would actually kind of favor them to get second. But given that Mitrovic and Vlahovic are both injured, I don't see them making it out of the group stage, unfortunately. So I have Serbia at third. Next up, we've got Switzerland. They are personally my favorites for the second place finish in this group. Xhaka is currently in the form of his life right now at Arsenal, which is great to see as an Arsenal fan. So I think his confidence going into the World Cup is going to be contagious for the rest of the team, and I can see them making out of this group stage. And then last in the group, we've got Cameroon. I think they've got a couple of high quality players, but I just don't think it's enough for this group. I've got them finishing last. In the last group, we've got Group H. First team out of Group H, we've got Portugal, Ronaldo's last dance. This is one of the strongest Portuguese side I think Ronaldo's had in a very long time, maybe his entire career. The biggest problem I think these days for Portugal is everyone clicking on the national team. I don't think there's any bad blood or anything. It's just they don't all play together very well, that I've watched at least. Despite all that, I've got Portugal finishing first in the group. Next team out of the group, we've got Ghana. Now, Ghana are typically a very strong team in the World Cup and just in general, and I could definitely see them taking second place. However, I'm going to put them at third just because I think there's another team stronger than them in this group. The second to last team we got to talk about in the group stage is Uruguay. Now, the biggest piece I think they're missing is Araujo, but there are a couple more players offensively that make up for it, specifically Fede Valverde and Darwin Nunez. I know Darwin Nunez has not had the greatest of starts. I personally don't even really like him that much as a player. He's just not my type of guy.
What do you mean by that?
Nothing against Liverpool fans. Stop typing in the comments, Jonah. All that being said, I think offensively, they're going to do bits. If Fede and Nunez link up really well, danger. I've got Uruguay finishing in second place in this group. And last but not least, we've got South Korea. For them, it's really as simple as this. No Son, no knockout stages. Done deal. There's still huge question marks if he returns. I have not heard any official word. It's still up in the air. For now, I've got them at 4th in the group. If they have Son, they could compete for 2nd in this group. But without Son, they're finishing 4th. Now it's time for the fun part, the knockout stages. All right, so it looks like the first matchup we've got Netherlands, USA. Like I said, I don't think the USA is going to be going terribly far. I've got Netherlands for this one. Next up, Argentina, Denmark. This one I think is clear. Argentina's moving on from this one. Next matchup, we've got the winner of Group E versus 2nd place of Group F. I think Spain's got this. Croatia, like I said, I don't see them getting far. Winner of Group G versus 2nd place out of Group H. Brazil, Uruguay. Brazil are going to go very far, I think, barring anything crazy. Winner of Group B, 2nd place Group A. I've got England, Senegal. England has to win this game. If they were to lose this game, that would be an absolute embarrassment. Next up, France and Poland. France surely will be winning this. I can't see France losing to Poland on this one. Second to last matchup of the round of 16, Belgium versus Germany. Now this one I think would actually be a really good game. I think Musiala could potentially have a fantastic tournament. So I've got Germany beating Belgium. The last matchup of the round of 16, Portugal versus Switzerland. I think Portugal are winning this game. I think Ronaldo's gonna have a great tournament just because he wants it so bad. I know for sure. On to the quarterfinals. We've got Netherlands and Argentina. Now this is going to be a really good test for Argentina, but Argentina is going further than the quarters. I've got them moving on. Next matchup, we got Spain and Brazil. I think this is where Brazil is going to show a little bit more of their class and their depth. So I've got Brazil moving on. England and France. This one is really interesting. I think this will come down to how England end up clicking. I think France is moving on to the semifinals. Last matchup of the quarterfinals, we've got Germany and Portugal. Germany, I think this is the end of the road for them. Don't think they have enough attacking talent to really keep up. Portugal, plentiful attacking talent. I think they're winning this game. Here we are, the semifinals of the World Cup. The first matchup, we've got a bitter rivalry, Argentina versus Brazil. I'm so sorry, Messi. I don't think they're beating Brazil. Brazil is moving on to the World Cup finals. And then the second game of the semifinals is France-Portugal Euro 2016 rematch. I think Portugal's going to edge it out again. I don't even have an explanation for that one. That one's just gut feeling. Oh man, here we are. Okay, the final in the bronze final. I'll do the bronze final first. Easy. Argentina. Messi is not finishing below 3rd for this tournament. No shot. Here it is. The World Cup final. Brazil, Portugal. And there you have it. I think Brazil is going to be winning the 2022 Qatar World Cup. Let me know what you think of my predictions down in the comments. Let me know what your predictions are as well down in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, stay tuned. I might go to Qatar. I'm not going to go to Qatar. Stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to be live streaming some watch-alongs of the World Cup games. And that's it for this video. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.